Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live. Myself and Gina are here, and we are going to talk about breaking patterns of how you communicate. Gina, welcome.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. We're back from it's like the end of summer holidays. We're moving right into September. So it's time to focus on back to work, back to school, back to how do you communicate. So it's great to be here with you.
Thank you. We love having you, Gina. So tell us a little bit about yourself for people who don't know Gina Long.
Absolutely. I'm a kid from a small town in Indiana. I went to Indiana University and I majored in journalism, where I came out and I worked first in the newspaper. Then I worked in television locally and ultimately with CNN. I'm so proud of the fact that I was able to be a Washington based national correspondent for almost 10 years. And after that, because like many of you out there who might be thinking about career changes, or maybe you've been made redundant, I did not have my contract renewed. I thought I was going to be Christiane Amanpour or Wolf Blitzer or John King. And suddenly they said, thank you very much. We're going in a different direction. There had been a merger. There were new executives who were now in charge, and they were bringing in their own special people, which I was not one. So how do you reinvent yourself? How do you pivot and talk about yourself in a different way? How do you take the skills and the experiences that you've learned and apply it in a different direction? I think that kind of tees us up to where we are talking about breaking patterns. It's reinventing, it's evolution of yourself. So I, fortunately, where I'd been the head of the bureau in Denver, got headhunted by a government affairs organization. So they asked me to create the first department of communications there. I took what I'd learned from storytelling and on camera presence and making things simple to hook an audience to the clients that we served. So I'm doing work with elected officials. I'm doing work with the public. I'm trying to bring all these like-minded, the media all together to try to affect positive change. During that time, then I also had the opportunity to take these things I never got with CNN, which are called vacations or holidays. And during that time, some people might take their vacation and just go to an all-inclusive resort and sip on a Mai Tai. But I had a good friend who was an elected official in Colorado, and he took his vacation time to go to work in emerging democracies or developing nations where there was a contingency of either civil rights people or issues people, or maybe people wanting to run for politics for the first time, but they didn't know how to message or build a campaign or reach beyond the white noise of everything else is distracting. And so he said, I think you would like that kind of work too. They would love to have someone like you. So I put my resume together, and sure enough, I spent 3 weeks in Indonesia, in
Wow.
Jakarta and in Sumatra, working with these incredible people who all they had was a dream, something that they wanted to do to improve the life of where they lived and their families. And they came to me to help them tell that story. And through that, and this also gets to where we are now, I found that love of helping ignite someone else who had a passion but didn't know how to share the passion or be a bright light about that passion, to stand out from a crowd. Even little things like, how do you smile on your little campaign badge, or the little poster you're going to put around, or a big television ad you might be able to do. And this is where we all start today, is to remind ourselves that this stuff isn't natural. It doesn't happen for everybody just automatically. You can be taught, you can be trained, you can develop. And I got so excited from that first experience because the director of the entire Southeast Asian region for the organization I was volunteering for said, Gina, I've never seen anybody have such low friction to learning. Like, you made it fun. Like, I don't know any other way. I'm not a formally trained trainer. I went to the hotel lobby and bought up a bunch of Toblerone chocolate bars and came out and said, who wants to stand up and tell me their vision? Who wants to stand up and tell me your story of how you're going to make your place better? And the first hand that went out, I went running down into the audience like some game show host, and you would have thought that Toblerone bar was like the golden statuette of the Oscars, right? It's like, oh, and it just became fun.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do when I'm working with people today. Help them understand that growing yourself, nurturing yourself, developing yourself is not painful. It can be fun because you get to see the way a small change around your word choice, your voice, your body language, your energy can more positively impact others, which then gives you more energy as well. Each of us can develop ourselves. And then the rest of my story is it moved from the volunteering on my holidays into full-time corporate support. If I were financially independent, and I promise you I'm not, I would do this for free, because the ability to see someone else have that light bulb go off in their head and go, you mean I can do this?
Yeah.
No matter what part of the world I'm from, no matter what sector I'm working in, no matter if I'm a junior employee or a top level CEO who has a lot of patterns of how I'm currently communicating, I can slightly change, or I can modify, or I can heighten my awareness. And the answer to all of that is yes, it is there for you. It doesn't mean you're going to become a new person. You're going to be an amplified version of you. And isn't that exciting? The secret to confident, comfortable, enjoyable, connecting communications is in you. You just need someone to help nurture you along and guide you and reassure you around the things you're already doing well, and then give you those small but insignificant changes so that you can be even better, not to exploit people, but to reach a mutually beneficial outcome. So that is what I do. That is why I do it. That is my from there to here. And I'm just thrilled to have this back to school, back to work, back to you time together with you, Sam.
Thank you, Gina. And can I just say, I know that we weren't planning on this, but Gina's like, what? What's she going to do?
No, bring it on.
I remember I've learned this from you.
Tell
Okay.
me.
And I remember somebody saying, oh, you look really well today. And I started going on about, oh, but sure, I'm just wearing this or do. But like you taught me to say thank you. And that was a pattern of behavior that I had learned, and I broke it, and I've broken it since. Just that simple little thing. So I'm assuming that's what we're going to be talking about today.
That's exactly what we're talking about, Sam. And these are the things when people start to look for like a silver bullet or a magic wand or some giant smoking gun about how do I take more control of my communications. It's not, they're not out there. They're not, there's no magic incantation that suddenly turns you from Cinderella in cinders to Cinderella in the ball ground. I'm not a fairy godmother, but what I am is someone who can help identify, like what you just said, small things. And I'm on a lifelong journey to continue to improve myself. We're never fully formed. If you think you're fully formed, I'm very certain you are probably cocky or complacent or both. So never stop looking for an opportunity for humility, right? Never stop looking for an opportunity to learn and course correct a little bit. I mean, that this morning, actually, a very special friend sent me a screenshot of a comment that I had written to a new wonderful person that I met over on LinkedIn. I had done a typo and and instead of the word I'd wanted, I'd written something else. And now my human part of me might have initially thought, oh, don't point that out. But then the humble part says, that's a small, kind correction that I can make to make it more impactful to that person. Thank you for that. So I went back in, I found that post, and I made the edit. We can all edit ourselves. And sometimes it is as simple as noticing or being told by someone who genuinely cares. We don't want just feedback for the sake of criticism. But when I saw that your pattern was, which I live in Ireland. I'm American. A lot of different cultures have this, but there is a tendency in Ireland that I've noticed to not accept a compliment, to
Yeah.
deflect a positive comment, and to try to minimize it in self-deprecation, which is somewhat humorous, but it's also when we get a compliment, you want to value the person's opinion. And when we dismiss it, it's almost negating the bravery that it took for someone to make that observation or to share that kind word, which might reduce the amount of time they would do it again. So think about what we're doing to honor them as well. A simple thank you and a genuine look. It doesn't mean we have to then offer them something. We don't have to go into some deep analysis about it. We can simply look at them in the face, give a smile, say a genuine thank you, and go on. And I appreciate you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Small patterns. Most of what we do that is limiting or not being as effective in our connecting communications are minor tweaks.
And self-awareness is a huge part of that. And I see we've a question from Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Thank you so much for joining us. In your experience coaching leaders, what is the most important pattern in communication that leaders should break to become truly effective? And how can they start making that change?
I would say thanks for that, Jackie. I think the very first thing that we need is what you were just touching on, Sam, is being open and heightening our awareness. I call this my ADD principle, the awareness, desire, and then discipline, the daily work to make this change become your new pattern. So if you have a lot of leaders, even if they're well-intended, they tend to take on more than they should. They offer solutions when a colleague or a direct report comes up to them or the team is asking for something, rather than asking probing, provocative questions to help that person discover the answer for themselves. So I would say to your question quickly, the answer is more listening. Listen and learn, and then help ignite or motivate action from your clients, your colleagues rather, or your team members. Because if we're the smartest in the room all the time as leaders, because we're offering the solutions, we're giving the answers, we're talking the most, then we're missing opportunities to help grow, empower, encourage, enable our team members to also become great contributors and leaders in their own right. So what's our succession planning going? How are we getting great, smart people around us? Why are we hiring great talent, but then not helping them to see the genius within them? Because probably we're insecure, or we haven't been taught how to actively listen. We haven't been taught what are good follow-up questions. Again, so much of this leadership stuff is considered, oh, well, you're good at your technical skill. Now I'm going to make you a manager over a team. But if you're not equipping that person with the people skills, the collaboration skills, the feedback skills, the performance review in a proactive, helpful way skills, then that's on the organization's fault. Really, that person's not going to innately suddenly know the people stuff. The people stuff is hard. The process is often, especially with machine learning and AI and all of that kind of technical support, the processes are becoming a lot easier. But the people stuff is what we really need to focus on, and that is communications.
Absolutely. And thank you, Jackie, for that. That's brilliant. And I think there is have you got a go-to thing that you would teach people in your consultations? Like, let's say they come to you and they say, for example, okay, I'm going to use myself as an example, right? So like I say a lot. I've noticed
fillers.
Camera. So filler words.
Right.
So I know that's different slightly, but like,
no, it's all part of communications. This is all, of course, we have these in communications, we have the strategy, we have the structure, And then we have the delivery. Those are really the three essential ingredients. What you're doing to prepare, so how you're thinking about your team members, how you're thinking about a meeting you're going into, internal or external, what you prepare, how do you think about your audience, what's your goal or your intent, and then what's a main message out of that. And that's not just a what you want to achieve, what you want them to do. It also needs to be linked to an aspirational why, because people are always looking for, well, what's in it for me? How is it going to improve my life or help the vision of the organization? What's in it for me? So that's the strategy component. Structure then gets into, do you frame things positively?
Yes.
Are you quick to correct? Or are you asking more questions? Are you thinking about what you are connecting vision to? Are you using motivational words? Are you using too many internal acronym, lexicon, technical words when you're speaking to lay people or early hires? So structure is important. When you're giving a presentation, are you over contexting it? Are you giving all of the history when you've got senior leaders who just want to know the high level so what?
Mm-hmm.
Then to your point, Sam, because we think about communication sometimes just as our speaking. No, communications is the experience consistently over time that you give of yourself to others. So purposeful, intentional communicators are not just thinking about, here's a question, I'm opening my mouth and whatever comes out. They're preparing who's my audience. They're practicing structure that is clear and brief and to the point, and words that are active and that matter. People who are positive, purposeful communicators are probably avid readers. They're probably listening to a lot of TED Talks or podcasts or leadership talks so that they're also aware of how others influence, persuade, and motivate. And then, yes, they are taking more control over that communications delivery experience that they bring. Do they speak with a clear, understandable, projected voice? If you're speaking in an English environment and you're a second language English speaker, this does not mean you cannot have any accent at all. But if your accent is preventing someone from understanding an important word, like I work with a lot of people in other parts of the world that don't use a TH like the or this. Italian speakers, for example, that's not a consonant connection blend that they would use. So they would default to a t or a d when they're saying dis or something else with a d. I can help them though get that sound right so it's easier. Likewise, in India and other places where the V sound for visa or value would be replaced with a W sound, visa, value, much harder to understand. We have the ability to shape and break that pattern. It's not changing your overall accent, it's helping you enunciate to be better understood. Now, to fillers. There are such a variety of fillers, and all they are is it's a verbal but a non-word substitute for a pause. When we're speaking at a speed and we're ad-libbing, we haven't memorized something. If we search for a word or we get lost in our train of thought, a default substitution to keep the flow going can be the like you mentioned, or the or my pet peeve of all, the I suppose.
That's
I suppose. No, I don't suppose. What are you talking about? No, I don't know. Why are you telling me I know a bunch of times? I don't actually know. That's why I'm here to listen to you. Do you suppose or do you mean it? And I'm not making fun of people because the thing is, this is a pattern. It's a habit. It's not a speech impediment, which we can work on those as well. It is merely a pattern because you haven't practiced disrupting that pattern and replacing it with what is necessary, which is a pause. So the way that we break that then is first with the awareness. So Sam, you do that. How do we break it then? First of all, I would encourage everyone, if you are not projecting when you're extemporaneously or ad-libbing speaking, and you're not going just a little bit slower, maybe a half a second slower than you would normally, you're setting yourself up for that avalanche of brain and mouth disconnect, which can tend to become something that you lose control of. And then the uhs start.
Right.
Because you don't like what you've just said. You're not sure where you're going. You've gotten your mouth ahead of your brain. So rather than go, pause. And if it takes putting your thumb in your palm to give you that extra pressure to focus, keep your head in the game, I'm going to go slower. I'm going to project my voice. That means a little more volume. I've had some people say, I don't know what project means. It just means push your voice just a little bit. It doesn't have to be diaphragm breathing or anything too technical, but that you're giving energy and you're giving a little slower pace so you can enunciate and you can keep your brain connected to your mouth. When you hear an come on, one trick is to then just go back and pick up. So I wanted to say that what I wanted to say is that I think with a little practice, you can pick that up and go forward. You see what I did? I didn't let the stick there. I heard it and I went back a couple of words to that that previous phrase, and then I linked it smoother. What you're doing there is you're disrupting the pattern out loud, because a big caveat, folks, is your actions will change your thoughts. Your thoughts don't change your actions. So if you're thinking, I would like to speak a little more confidently, stop thinking it, start sounding it. And the first way to start sounding it is to learn how to hear your voice with a little more amplification. That doesn't mean yelling. It doesn't mean your tonality changes, but it means that you're pushing your breath to the back of the room or the back of the wall, more than if you're just thinking you're having a little conversation like this. No, give some energy. It's going to add enthusiasm. It's going to automatically slow you down a little bit. It's also going to add gravitas and credibility. Not grandstanding voice, but energy voice. So I hope that helps.
Oh, really, really helps a lot. And we have another question, Kumutini, how to become aware of your patterns in the first place?
Super question. Well, first and foremost, ask if there are trusted supervisors or trusted colleagues. You don't want the person that's going to say, oh yeah, you're great. Because as soon as that person says great, first of all, that's non-specific feedback. It doesn't give you any real specificities of, is it my voice? Is it my face? Is it the way I listen to others? What about my communications resonates with you or makes you feel motivated or connected or reassured or valued? So ask for specific feedback. Then another thing is, just for your own edification, we've all got one of these. Grab your phone and just talk for 30 seconds about a topic. Talk about your vacation you went on. Talk about your family. Talk about your work if you like. Also, if you have a presentation that you know you're going to be giving, put yourself on your camera. Video record yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then two things. Don't go for 10 minutes because you're going to be exhausted doing it and you're not going to probably have the focus to watch that much back. But just make it easy. Go for 30 seconds. And then when you do that, that's your baseline. You can introduce yourself. You can talk about the presentation you're giving. You can do whatever you want. Watch it first with the camera off. Excuse me, with the voice off. The camera's on, the voice is off. So you're going to see, am I monologuing to a camera? Am I afraid of that camera? Does it feel unnatural? And now I'm just looking at the camera and delivering without any expression at all. If you are, That's your opportunity to try to give a little more face. Connect the emotions of the words to what your face is doing. It doesn't have to be so scripted like you go, I think everyone should smile. I think it's a great day. I mean, if you start thinking about this is a positive welcome, or this is projection numbers that we're excited about, then your eyebrows lift a little bit, your hand should be coming into the screen, your face should be uplifted a little bit. You know if it's your flat face or if it's your energized face. Then layer on the video, or the audio rather, and begin to listen. Are you monologuing? Is it a monotone that is a flat voice that doesn't have any variation to speed, pitch, projection, or emphasis? All of these are tools or wonderful notes that your instrument, your voice can play. So get your baseline from a 30-second on-camera phone video. And then, hey, reach out to me on LinkedIn and maybe I can help.
Well, actually, Kareem has asked, sometimes as a leader, I just have to jot down points to talk about to avoid too much thinking and communicating confidently. Sorry, apologies. And there was one more.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with jotting down some notes. In fact, it's essential if you're preparing for a virtual or an in-person meeting, and you know that you have had a pattern of just rocking up to the meeting, not preparing to think about who's in that virtual or in-person room, who do I need as colleagues to support me on a project, who do I need as supervisors to see me working visibly to help potentially promote and support and sponsor me. If you are just phoning it in with your work visibly approach, if you're just thinking it's enough to do the work, very likely you will be surpassed by someone who is making more of an effort. It is a biggest call I can make is that your human skills need to be humaned up. I was just last week in the United States with 300 executive MBA students from every sector, from many different states. And these people were talked to by an academic. I talked for the 4 different topics I talked about around communications, presenting, storytelling, networking, creating your own advisory board at length. But there was an academic who was the head of digital for Indiana University, written a number of books. His name is Ernest O'Boyle. So if you'd like to look him up, please do. And he was talking about the skills that you need in the AI machine learning world. Communications, human collaboration, moving your EQ, connecting it to your voice and your actions. Of course, the critical skills that I coach, that I teach, are the most important skills you can identify and begin to work on and begin to refine and continue to work on.
Well, we have one more habit to break. So I asked the audience, that are watching. So thank you so much, everybody. Just what is the big habit that you'd like to break? So freezing when put in the spot. And I think this is a very common one, and being able to communicate confidently.
Perfect. Well, and this happens, especially in, let's say you're asked without any warning, hey, Sam, love for you to tell us what you've been working on this week. It's hard for people to put like, oh, now the little ducks are running all around my farmyard and I don't know how to pull them together and organize in no time at all. So one thing I'd like you to do is learn what I call the runway lines, the buy yourself some timelines. Beyond, thank you for that question, which is a fine one. I think we all have that one. That's a great question. That's a good technique in of itself, because what it's doing is it is buying you time, and it's also letting you get comfortable with answering back. So you're hearing that voice respond as opposed to completely freezing like a deer in the headlights. Me? What? As soon as you start to feel that kind of bad negative energy come up because you're so nervous, it's going to make it even harder, right? So get a couple of runway lines. Yes, I'm happy to give you, and now restate their question as your answer. I'm happy to give you my week's report. And then, or it's a sense of urgency that I'm sharing this report. I mean, everything isn't I'm happy to. Yes, I can give you that. Or I will now answer your question, repeat their question back to them in the form of a sentence. If it is something that you agree with, if it's something actually your question now stated as a statement, I have a different point of view. So it's a different runway line. You're just thinking of these runway lines. And then the next thing after the runway line is what I call the guardrail line. The guardrail line is a structure device that helps you not suddenly brain dump 85 things to them. Nobody has time for 85 things. They don't need to know everything that you've got, that you've ever memorized or thought about that particular topic. Your guardrail line goes something like this. Thanks for that question. I'm happy to give you my weekly report. Here are the top 2 things I accomplished. Here are the top 3 considerations that are takeaways from what I'm about to say. That right there, you've narrowed it for yourself and for the expectation of the audience about what you're going to construct. When you do something like that, your brain might not even have thought about which 3 ducks you're going to get. But as soon as you limit from all the ducks that are jumping around in your head to 2 or to 3, and I would encourage you to keep it 2 or 3, you're going to retrieve something. I promise you, you will. And if you don't immediately, you can say the first thing that comes to mind is, so you've just bought yourself another little bit of time. And it doesn't have to be the prioritizing thing. It's just a thing. And then you can backfill. And another 2 important things to remember are, another 2 important achievements I made, or another 2 important case studies I can share right now, or conversations from my colleagues that will be beneficial to you for our weekly all hands. And then, so you've just done, thanks for the question. Repeat the question as you're set up for your answer. Guardrail what you're going to do. Yeah. There are a couple of considerations. We can go in either direction. You're basically doing, I'm about to cook this particular recipe for you. You've named it. You're tour guiding your own delivery for yourself and for your audience. When you are done, even if you didn't love the middle, you might have meandered a little bit. Maybe you went off on a bit of a tangent. Restate. And that's why these 2 achievements for this week, I think, are so essential for this meeting.
Yeah.
So your wrap is reminding people where you wanted to take them, even if you went a little bit far afield. And I promise you, you are creating a concise takeaway experience for that audience where they're going to remember what you began with, and especially what you ended with. And that's going to create that impression that, isn't Gina a confident speaker? No, Gina is a practiced speaker. And with that practice and that course correction and that flexibility to take on board, how's my warmth? How's my credibility? How's my enunciation? How's my facial engagement? How's my word choice? How's my wrap up at the end? All of those considerations, by the way, don't happen overnight, but they do happen if you're habit stacking. Don't focus on all the things I've been talking about today immediately after this event is over. Pick one. Pick one. Is it a filler disruption? Is it concise construction? Is it practicing one guardrail or one runway line? Even just remembering, oh, that's a runway line. Oh, that's buying some time before I get into it, so I'm not freezing. I'm holding my space. Am I also going to layer on projection with that? Ooh, now I look like I'm sounding confident and I'm also constructing confidently. Ooh, maybe I'm going to also layer on a face that looks like I'm not panicked. But those are 3 components already. So I don't even expect you to try all 3 at once simultaneously. Our little brain, if you're trying to disrupt a pattern, don't take too much on board, because if you can't land it, then you're going to feel a little discouraged and go, that That's just for somebody else. Gina's just a natural speaker. I promise you I am not. I promise you. Little girl, farmland, Indiana, very thick accent. Shy, called mumbles by a neighbor for years. So this developable stuff is available for anybody. It does take practice. It does take refinement. It does take being comfortable enough to put yourself on your camera, on your phone, and not dismissing yourself right away by saying, I hate my voice. I don't like how I look, blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all. I think it myself. Get past it, because people are out there who can be impacted by you.
Oh, I'm always saying that as well to people, that are afraid to share their knowledge on LinkedIn, for example. It's like, oh, who wants to listen to me? And I get those same, that same pushback, and, practice. And Gina has a lot of videos on her YouTube channel, folks, a lot of resources there. Kareem, maybe you missed the part where I was talking about saying during communication. So if you want to watch the replay.
I'm happy to remind it real quickly. Kareem, the first thing is to tell yourself that you are going to disrupt it, that you are aware of it, and you've got that. Now, speak a little slower, project your voice, and that's going to already reduce. When you hear one, try to go back just a couple of words, pick up the previous phrase. You can even say rather or excuse me, and then go back and do it, because you're teaching yourself new patterns. Another, if you can go slow enough, is to, when you feel an or an M coming on, try to pause as a substitute. People will stay with you if your face stays engaged, even if you're silent for just a second or two, because you're gathering your thought. If you are silent, keep your head engaged, like, I've got it, I'm here, rather than M, because that can be very disruptive to a couple of sentences or a thought you're trying to get across, because you're interrupting yourself so many times with these filler words. I hope that helps.
Wonderful, wonderful advice. Gina, we've come over to the end of our LinkedIn Live. Is there anything kind of to wrap up?
Yeah, sure. To wrap up, everyone, please be kind to yourself, first of all.
Yes.
Please know that this breaking of your communication patterns is not a one and done. Do start to build your awareness, putting yourself on your camera, on your phone, and video recording yourself speaking, asking trusted, neutral observers for their specific feedback, picking one aspect of your delivery around your words, your voice, your body at a time. Think habit stacking, not everything all at once. And over time, it does take effort, but you know that anything worth effort, worth doing, is going to require some effort. So be kind to yourself. Don't wait till tomorrow. Start today. Reach out to me wherever you get your social media, or find me on my website, GinaLondon.com. If there's something that I can do more formally for you. I do love to support people who are determined to become intentional and purposeful communicators to better connect with others and themselves.
Well done, Gina. Great value as always. Thank you, Susan, Kareem, Neil, everybody who commented. We have Kumitini, and who else was it? Jackie. Yeah. So thank you very much, folks. You can be able to watch the replay, and we'll also be putting it in Gina's next newsletter. So thank you very much, Gina.
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.